It was quite a damning story. Trump supporter Cold Cock's 69-year-old protester outside Rally, read the September 13 headline. The alleged victim was Shirley Teeter, who wears an oxygen mask and lugs around a tank to support it, wrote the author. And it was all phony and staged, reveals the Democrat operative who set the whole thing up. That's just one revelation from part 1 of the recent Project Veritas investigation into election fraud and manipulation by the Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton campaign. The operative is dirty tricks specialist Scott Fovel, who was the national field director for the left-wing group Americans United for Change until he made the mistake of getting caught campaign riding dirty. He also previously worked for People for the American Way, a George Soros-funded organization, and his own company, the Fovel Group, captured on video by an undercover Project Veritas reporter posing as a Democrat donor. Fovel is part of a web of leftist conspirators led by Robert Creamer, a veteran Chicago activist and convicted felon who is thought to have planned Democrats' political strategy during the push for Obamacare in 2009 and 2010, reports Breitbart. Creamer is also the husband of Jen Schakowsky, a Democrat congresswoman from Chicago. As to these activists' machinations, Breitbart tells us, Democrats have used trained provocateurs to instigate violence at Republican events nationwide throughout the 2016 election cycle, including at several Donald Trump rallies, using a tactic called bird dogging, according to a new video investigation released Monday by James O'Keefe's Project Veritas. The goal of bird dogging, to create a sense of anarchy around Donald Trump that would undermine his political support. Often, the tactic uses the most vulnerable people, including the elderly and disabled, such as Shirley Teeter, to maximize shock value. Fovel can be seen in the video, shown below, saying that he calls this conflict engagement. Conflict engagement in the lines at Trump rallies. He even stated, "We have mentally ill people that we pay to do st, make no mistake," and had boldly proclaimed, "We're starting anarchy here." And Fovel and his ilk are no loose cannons. As Project Veritas writes, its undercover journalists reveal key players coordinating clandestine operations in support of Hillary Clinton's campaign. The video, supported by emails recently released by WikiLeaks, shows that the dirty tricks, lines of communications and the money trail lead all the way to the top. The video discloses numerous examples of behind-the-scenes shady practices with consequences most Americans have seen on national television at Donald Trump campaign rallies across the country. What the media hasn't reported is that the Clinton campaign and Democratic National Committee has been directing these activities with, at very best, a very thin veil of plausible deniability. In fact, Fovel outlined the web of deceit, saying in the video, "I am contracted to him, Bob Creamer, who, as Project Veritas put it, is Democracy Partners, the political activism group Creamer founded in 2011. Fovel explained further, "But I answer to the head of special events for the DNC and the head of the special events and the political for the campaign. The Hillary Clinton campaign pays DNC, Democratic National Committee, DNC pays Democracy Partners pays the Fovel Group, the Fovel Group goes and executes the ST on the ground. We are the primary mechanism as a team. Democracy Partners is the tip of the spear on that stuff." Confirming this upper echelon complicity, Creamer can be seen in the video saying, "The campaign is fully in it. Hillary knows through the chain of command what's going on. And what's going on is, again, conflict engagement, orchestrated violence." As Fovel related while talking to a Project Veritas, PV, reporter, as presented by Breitbart. Fovel, "We train up our people, wherever they are, too, and I work with a network of groups, we train them up on how to get themselves into a situation on tape, on camera, that we can use later. You remember the Iowa State Fair thing where Scott Walker grabbed the sign out of the dude's hand and then the dude gets kind of roughed up right in front of the stage right there on camera? PV, yeah? Foval, that was all us. The guy that got roughed up is my counterpart, who works for Bob Creamer. PV, and that was like, storyboard it. Him getting roughed up like that? Foval, we scenarioed it. PV, and so you, like, lent yourselves to that situation and it happened. A self-fulfilling prophecy. Foval, we not only lent ourselves, we planted multiple people in that front area around him and in the back to make sure there wasn't just two action that happened up front, there was also a reaction that happened out back. So the cameras, when they saw it, saw double angles of stuff like, they saw what happened up front, and they saw the reaction of people out back. PV, that's FG brilliant. That's brilliant. Foval, and then the reporters had people to talk to. Foval revealed that nothing is left to chance, saying there's actually a script of engagement and a central kind of agitator training. And agitate they do, with his operatives engaging in fighting words and actions. Yet, apparently, there must be a relative lack of violence-prone Trump supporters, as Shirley Tita's masquerading as an assault victim proves. Note that the man she accused, 73-year-old Richard Campbell, said from the beginning that she made up the whole thing but nonetheless was arrested by police. It will be interesting to see if she's now charged with filing a false police report. And the goal is to have agitators everywhere. As Creamer says in the video, wherever Trump and Pence are gonna be, we have events. And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign. And my role in the campaign is to manage all that. As for the magnitude, Foval said that at one event they would turn out 500 people in front of the Trump International in DC. Then there's another activist, Aaron Black, who called himself a field general and said, nobody is really supposed to know about me. He admitted that the left-wing protests that morphed into the ultra-violent March melee outside a Chicago Trump event was DNC orchestrated, saying, that was us. Black said they wanted it to appear as if it were a grassroots endeavor and not be connected to the Democrat Party. As Foval put it, the thing that we have to watch is making sure there's a double blind between the actual campaign and the actual DNC and what we're doing. There's a double blind there, so that they can plausibly deny that they heard anything about it. We have to be really careful because what we don't need is for it to show up in CNN that the DNC paid for X people to. That's not going to happen. And even though another left-wing activist, Zulma Rodriguez, is on video saying, I just had a call with the campaign and the DNC. Every day at 1 o'clock, they may not have to worry. CNN, and the rest of the mainstream media, is doing its best to whitewash Project Veritas revelations. Just as Creamer is attempting to fade into the background, announcing Tuesday that he'd be stepping back from his work with the Democratic campaign for Hillary Clinton, the powers that be want to make this story fade away with him. None of this will be surprising to anyone acquainted with the left's violent history, least of all to the left itself. Foval actually admitted that Republicans were less likely to engage in his dirty tactics because, as he put it, there is a level of adherence to rules on the other side that only when you're at the very highest level, do you get over. And calling himself the White Hat, he said that Bob Creamer is diabolical and I love him for it, labeling his mentor's Democracy partners as kind of a dark hat. For sure. The question is, will the dark hats succeed in putting a dark hat in the White House next